Happy Memorial Day, and welcome to an all new episode of the Faux Real podcast. This week, I don't have a new guest for you, but I do have quite a story that I'd like to share. In fact, I have many stories to share that I haven't yet been able to tell, at least not on this program. And some of those stories I've told in part, but not the whole story. So from now on, whenever I don't otherwise have a guest to join me on a particular episode, I will be bringing a new series within a series where I share a story from on set or with someone you'd never believe I have a story with. Since today is Memorial Day, I want to share a story that needs to be told about a situation that should have never happened to anyone, but is happening more and more thanks to the ongoing authoritarian injustices from Trump and his White House. This is a story of my run in with the Secret Service. On the morning of January 24th, 2025, only 4 days into Trump's second term in office, I made my way downstairs to go on my morning sabbatical to get coffee. And when I opened the front door to my apartment, I found a tag on the doorknob. It was the kind of tag that you'd find at the end of a bed frame or piece of large furniture for sale at a furniture store. It also resembled a tag that you'd see up for bid on The Price is Right. On the tag was a number to call back an Agent Kenneth Hong at the Department of Homeland Security. A most DEI name if I ever heard one. Upon receiving this tag, I did what any justice-forward, Antifa, anti-MAGA, social media savvy person would do and made a TikTok about it, because of course I did. After all, it seems that the reason the SS were harassing me in the first place was because of some of what I had been posting about there. As someone who closely follows the news and all the nonsense coming from the Trump administration and his regime on the daily, I post about it often. And not just that, I post about ways to stand against the regime, which has and continues to include cybersecurity safeguards and tech alternatives. Among Trump's ever ominous Legion of Doom, along with the ongoing cavalcade of evil billionaires and oligarchs like Elon Musk, Sam Altman, the Ellisons, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Stephen Miller, Peter Thiel, Kevin O'Leary, Bill Gates, and all the others. There's never been a more insidious blanket of surveillance across the entire world, rooting itself into every facet of existence. From flock cameras to the Slate system to Palantir and Oracle watching our every move, hearing and recording our every word across our devices, and using ever-advancing AI systems to control the narrative that it's simply an inevitable modernization of society that we just need to get used to, while they strip away our humanity through control of our community of art and free speech. It's truly insidious on levels that most people just don't understand. And even if they do, they often ignore it because it's just too big to think about. Well, I think about it every moment of every day. That thinking causes high amounts of stress, of course, but it also propels me to action, to build, to share, to find new and immutable ways to block the avenues of control and bring justice to those that would otherwise have dominion over us. One of those avenues is a cybersecurity safeguard of epic proportions, called, or at least colloquially known as, the Mr. Robot Protocol. It is named for the show of the same name starring Rami Malek, and therein has a lot of the tenets of pieces of the various technological plot points of the series. At its base, it is a system of interconnected programming values specifically geared towards ending authoritarian rule. I realize that sounds like a lot of sci-fi technobabble, but essentially, it is a woven, active language among AI and developed surveillance that will break the entire system down from within, simultaneously and irrevocably. It is something I'd been talking about a lot on my TikTok page, and once I did, people started paying attention. It got so much attention that it gained the interest of the White House and of the Orange Clown himself. If you're wondering, I did not respond to that tag. I did not call any agent. I did not obey in advance. In fact, I clearly stated in my TikTok after finding that tag that I would be doing no such thing. And anyone with DHS or otherwise who wanted to call me on that decision was going to need a warrant. Well, I would indeed be called on it, because only 4 days later, on January 28th, 2025, two men in suits claiming to be Secret Service agents showed up at my very door. The whole interaction would be about 90 seconds. And that is 90 seconds that are embedded in my mind like no other experience I've ever had. The two gentlemen, one white and one black, were dressed just as you'd expect two federal agents to be dressed. When they arrived and knocked on my door, my roommate called me to alert me. He was just downstairs and could have just as easily shouted to me, but having already received the tag and expecting something further to happen, I had briefed him and we had a plan. When he called me, I acknowledged his alert, grabbed my tripod, and told him to stall them. He did. They immediately grew impatient but did not attempt to breach my door. I came down the stairs and set my tripod up, then made my way to the door as I signaled my roommate to stand ready at a distance across from me in the kitchen. I know I did not legally have to open the door, but I wanted to get them both on camera. So I slowly opened the door and opened the dialogue by stating, "Do not come in. State your business." I asked if they had a warrant. They did not. I then said, "Have a good day then." One of the agents responded to ask if I wanted to know why they were there. I said yes. I had to know what they were going to say, right? He said, "You made a threat against the president." Well, I hadn't, of course. But the Trump administration takes action against anyone and everyone who is against his aims and views anyone who merely suggests a way that he might be pulled from power as a direct threat. So, of course, my talking about this Mr. Robot protocol made me a target. After a bit of a further exchange in which it was apparent that they wanted to chat and I was not going to oblige, the one agent asked, "So, what do you want to do?" I replied, "Well, I'll be contacting a lawyer." And at that point, they said, "Okay then," and left down the hallway to leave. I poked my head out of the door to ask their names. The one agent turned to the other to say, "He wants to know our names." And then they simply got on the elevator. Of note here, they got on the elevator simply for effect. There was no reason they couldn't have just taken the stairs, because it was only one short flight of stairs to the first floor. I guess take that as you will. Well, it's now May 25th, 2026, which means it's been over a year since then, and I haven't heard any more from those agents or any other personnel or department of DHS. The video I posted of receiving the tag ended up getting nearly 5 million views on TikTok, being my only real viral video I've ever posted, and skyrocketed my following such that I was able to join the Creator Fund. None of that really matters, except to say that the word certainly got out. Now that TikTok has changed hands and is controlled by the Ellisons, all of my posts, unsurprisingly, have been insanely suppressed. There's certainly no way I could manage such a viral video now, even if I wanted to. But I have and will continue sharing ways to stand against Trump's regime and to bring justice against any kind of authoritarian control, no matter who is calling the shots. It is currently election time here in LA, and I encourage all of you to get out and vote. If you are like me and of my like mind and would like assistance in knowing progressive candidates to vote for, check out DSA LA's voter guide, which I will, of course, link in the show notes of this episode. For more ideas and ways to help protect yourself in this increasingly dark timeline we are all living in, please follow me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Blue Sky. As I said at the beginning of this episode, I have a lot more stories to share with some very fun ones coming up. Next week, I'll share my story with the Brad Pitt. You won't want to miss it. Until next week, this is Devlin Wilder, Justice Warrior.